All right, everyone, it's time for the occult video number 425 on green magic. Now, I am going to touch on hedge wicca, which I do have respect for. I think that it's great when kids, get into growing herbs and stuff. I happen to like gardening quite a bit. Still a bunch of chamomile out there I got to take care of. Note to self, by the way. But it goes beyond that. The history of the use of herbs and poultices and infusions and all of these things within the occult is very, very long. It dates to antiquity, actually. We've got archaeological remnants from Egypt, for example, where they had entire trays that were labeled and designed to put different herbs and spices and tinctures and perfumes and so forth in to use in a medical setting. Medicine, if anything, is probably the most linked with the occult of any scientific profession, actually. I've edited dozens of works on this subject. You have laundry list after laundry list of different herbs and solutions that were used throughout time. You then have an overlap in the 1800s, right? The fire and brimstone movement and religiosity, especially within the United States and Canada, overlap seamlessly, actually, with the rise of organic medicine. That is, semi-standardized medicines, pills, and so forth that were being dispensed of various kinds. You have homeopathy, you have the usage of primitive antiseptics, you have the usage of mind-altering substances, certainly. Take some laudanum, kid. You got a concussion? This'll make you feel better now, right? Even the rise of coffee drinking. Of course, that was not really a thing. Most people were drinking tea, which is also medicinal in many cases. Then you have the rise of the drinking of coffee within American culture. It becomes ubiquitous. And of course, this is mind-altering as well. So green magic goes far beyond just the hedge wicca thing that we will discuss in a moment into the realm of herbalism, into the realm of organic medicine prior to the modern pharmaceutical system, into the realm of gardening, quite literally. There are even superstitions with regards to this sorts of thing. For instance, back in the 1500s, for example, if you had some fallen timber near your home and a mushroom called witch's butter, which grows profusely out there, by the way, was growing on it, you could be labeled a witch or a wizard, and you could be killed for this in some countries. And because it's fairly common, it became an obvious scapegoat to basically butcher your neighbor, possibly to take their property. This may have played a role in Salem. Salem, great idea. Let's talk about that briefly. The going theme is that an ergot outbreak actually caused the symptoms that were there. I personally believe that it was more trickery than anything else. I do not believe that there was any particular chemical explanation for the symptoms that people were professing to have. But it is possible, and it is, again, the going theory, generally speaking. It's been posited that land disputes had a role to play. I happen to agree with that a little bit more, but I digress. Let's talk about hedge wicca as well. Now, Wiccanism was invented by Gardner about a century ago so that he could see naked priestess boobies for no other reason. He invented a religion. It's a little bit like Scientology or Mormonism. These were invented by people who wanted moolah and sex and things of that nature. I'm sure that Elron got his fill as well of pussy. When you have that kind of money and you have your own religion, you probably get laid a little bit. Just saying. But with regards to hedge wicca, this particular environmentally inclined offshoot of Wiccanism actually is one that has my full support. I believe that it is a good thing. I think, hey, you've got mainly young people, although you always get the hippie grandma that also wants to do the same thing and scry and the crystals and things of that nature. When you have a group of young people that are being indoctrinated into growing things and they've got herbs everywhere and stuff like that, well, where's the harm in that? I see that as one of the most positive religious forces in the world. It's actually really great. Okay, so you learned how to grow things. You're canning your own food, and living in nature, and you like to be topless a lot. Why on earth would I think that this was a bad thing? No, I think that it's superlatively good, actually. I think that everyone should be a hedge Wiccan, actually. I'm joking, I'm being hyperbolic, but it would be funny if that were the case. Probably be a better world, though, and there'd be a lot less war and a lot more food production, so that could work, honestly. I am not a Wiccan myself, but I do have respect for those who practice that particular magical path, and they've dedicated themselves mainly to effectively nature worship. Paganism expresses itself in the same way. For example, the use of the oak and the ash tree within Nordic paganism and their particular importance. There's a tradition, and my grandfather believed in this, and I know that he did, and I'll explain that in a moment. There's a belief that your house will not be hit by lightning if you have mountain ash trees growing right next to it. He had a couple right next to the driveway. I was complaining fervently when they were cut down by my parents. I thought that was a terrible idea. Then I got struck by lightning through the screen door. Hmm. Okay. Total coincidence, my dude. I'm going to be replanting those at some immediate time in the future, by the way, because they're beautiful and they smell nice. And yeah, the berries get all over your car, but who cares? Windshield wipers were invented for a reason. So, green magic, plant-based magic, nature magic, things along those basic lines have always been of great import to me. I've always had an appreciation for that well since I was, well before I was an adult, by the way. I hadn't even read The Lesser Keys at that point, but still was interested in it. Then there's another connection, right? One of the things that Stolas teaches about in the Ars Goetia is plants, botanical lore, and things of that nature. What a coincidence. They keep mounting over and over again, by the way. So I had a great time learning how to garden. I took a horticultural course in middle school, learned how to grow a great number of indoor plants. My grandfather was impressed with how well I was doing with them, because of course, I'm just a kid. I'm a fucking middle schooler at the time. And then he taught me how to garden outdoors, and the rest is history. Next year, I hope to make the most incredible garden that I have made so far. It'll be fun, and it's also time-saving, lucrative, and much more tasty and nutritious when you grow your own crops, especially if you're also canning them. I mean, yeah, you grow a couple of rows of cucumbers, you'll have pickles all fucking year. You won't be able to keep up with them. And you can pickle almost anything, so then that's other good news. Green magic, though, I think is the most positive form of magic. I think of it as basically a veneration of life when you think about it. The Bach Saga mentions this, the concept that the strålar, or the sap, quite literally, goes up through the tree and interacts with the sun, growing the tree, and that initially human beings mainly were drinking sap more than anything else. This is at least partially true, by the way. You look at like honey mead and so things like that. It's actually true. Look at Vermont. We're basically a miniaturized Norway, I suppose, because people are still drinking sap to this day here. Our maple syrup, by the way, better than Canadian maple syrup, and I will not renege on that comment under any circumstances. That's about all. Peace out.